Welcome to Diary of a Sheep Dairy Farmer, where we talk all things dairy sheep, from breeding to lambing to milking and everything in between and outside. I'm your host, Becca, owner, operator, and glorified farmhand of Hidden Hollow Sheep Dairy. Welcome back, guys. I hope I don't sound as tired as I feel. It has been a rough couple of weeks. I don't know if I have mentioned it on here, but in addition to lambing and all the fun and chaos that goes along with that, my husband has been running for a county commissioner seat for our district, and I have been doing my best to run his campaign for him, be his treasurer, his cheerleader, his support, make his signs, help him put signage out all over the county, as well as lamb out my 65 head of ewes on my own, work on some fencing, and pretend to keep the house together, as well as keep up on the podcast, my YouTube channel, and all other social media. I'm tired. As of this recording, we are a week away from the election. 7 days. 7 days until this election is over. Primary election here in Idaho. And his race will be won in the primary. He has an opponent from the same party, and no one is running in the opposing party, so whoever wins the primary wins. It means he will not have anybody opposing him in November. He will be the only name on the ballot in November, so he wins, he wins. So we are crossing all digits and doing tons of praying that he wins. He wants this so badly. I want this so badly for him. He has wanted this for so many years. And our friend who has this position is running for county sheriff. And my husband, he being my husband, has wanted to be a county commissioner for several years, but would never run against a friend. He has morals. And so when the current commissioner said he was going to step down to run for county sheriff and asked my husband, would you be interested in running for this position? My husband jumped on it. It's about 4 years earlier than he was expecting to run, but he has been campaigning and he has jumped in with both feet as of last year in July. So it has been almost a year that he has been preparing and campaigning and doing all the things to get his name out there and prepare himself for this. And his opponent, literally, he put his in at the last minute. It has absolutely nothing to do with dairy sheep, so I'm gonna shut up now. Let's get into dairy sheep. So this will be posted after the election results, but literally the day after. But if you want to know if he wins or not, you'll either have to wait a week or sneak over to my YouTube to see the results. We may live stream a bit of it until we get too tired. We are old after all. So, okay, I'm going to shut up now. What are we talking about today? After all that rambling, I do have a point. We breed 3 times a year. Although this year it will be 4 because my husband is a throw a ram in and see what happens type of person. So we are just finishing up our April and May group and won't lamb again until August. That was his bright idea. I'm not holding out much hope. He decided to just throw a ram in like late March, early April, I believe, with whatever didn't lamb. I guess it's easiest just to say whatever didn't lamb in my February-March group, the leftovers, which basically was any of my 2023 ewes that I knew were too young to breed, but we threw them in anyway, just in case. So they are the ones that from March 9th until April 12th, we threw a ram in. Just whatever happened. We'll find out sometime in August whether or not we get anything. Those are my husband's issues. I try not to think about them because they give me anxiety. I am very much I like to plan my breedings. Dairy sheep, like most wool sheep, are seasonal breeders. They're in season during the short days of the year, basically October through about February. You can probably sneak September, probably March in there. you're pushing it a little bit for getting anything naturally bred, but we have had things bred as early as September and as late as March, just natural breeding. But between about April through August, good luck. That's why I said I'm not holding out a lot for these ones that we just threw the ram in with. Now, there are some ewes that will take during these off months naturally, but for the most part, anything that you want to breed out of their natural breeding season needs a little help. Normally, I plan my out of season breeding so I am lambing in October before it gets too terribly cold. This year isn't working in my favor for the previously mentioned reasons. So I am holding off breeding my ewes probably until June or July. I'm not a fan of December lambing. It's too dang cold here in Idaho for those newborns, and we tend to have frozen lambs that moms can't get cleaned off in time, even in our barn. It's those Idaho winds that do the most damage. I don't mind November, but it could go either way. We have had mild years where it's like October and decent out, and we've had years where it's colder than the middle of January. So I'm still deciding when I want to lamb out my ewes. If things keep going the way they're going, odds are it is definitely going to be late June, early July before I get to it. But once you decide what month you want to lamb, then it's time to do some math. I know, not my favorite thing either, but it's got to be done. So let's go with December because let's be honest, by the time I get through lambing and this election, I will be in the fields and then hay will start, and it will be mid-July before I even think about breeding sheep. I want to be done lambing by Christmas. I plan to breed about 60-ish head of ewes. Let's say my last potential lambing date is going to be December 20th. That gives me 3 extra days. I like to give myself an extra 3 days beginning and ending of lambing just to hedge my bets. So that would make my last lambing date December 23rd. So I'm still before Christmas. Now we count backwards 145 days from December 20th, which means rams need to be out on July 28th. So keep that all in your head. We'll come back to it. So once we have our dates, now we have to decide how are we breeding. I only know of three ways to out of season breed. There could be more out there. I'm sure if I did more research, I'd probably find them, but I didn't. Total honesty. I just go with what I know because I'm tired. Just honest. So the first is how my husband likes to handle things. Throw a ram in and whatever happens, happens. This is good for finding those in your flock who will naturally out of season breed. It's not really recommended if you're wanting to have good coverage on your ewes and actually have them produce lambs at the end of gestation. On average, the last 2 times he has done this to me, out of 40 some ewes, I ended up with about 9 ewes that lambed. It's not great odds. I stick to other methods. But I guarantee you that won't stop him from throwing a ram in helter-skelter as he pleases. And we keep the man happy, so we let him do it. The second and much better way to out-of-season breed is by modifying your daylight. We all know that day length initiates estrus. Shorter days bring the ewes in. Yes, longer days do not. So we need to create those shorter days artificially. Find a place you can lock down the ewes you want to breed. Those ewes will need to be exposed to long days of daylight for 12 weeks and then to short days of daylight for about 8 weeks. Full disclosure here, I have never tried this method. I know people who have, and they tend to use it on the rams more so than the ewes. What I have heard is people using it actually on both. They use it for the rams and for the ewes. A couple things to note. If you do use the short and long day method, long days are 8 hours of daylight and short days are 6 hours of daylight. Then they are in darkness and you only want about like 10% of daylight, but they need to be in a place that is closed up without any flashes of light. So your 10% needs to be pretty consistent. These flashes will bother the ewe's perception of time of darkness, and then you can start breeding at a minimum of 8 weeks after the short time of days. I would find somebody that has done this. One of the things that I looked at for my research, because like I said, I have never done this. I do know people that have, but I watched the symposium topic of the out of season breeding light extension protocols with Joanne Cameron. She is a sheep specialist from Quebec, Canada, and absolutely fabulous. So if you are a Dasana member and you want to learn about this, that is definitely one I recommend you go look at. So anyway, it is a pretty rigorous process that takes a lot of planning and forethought. If I were to use this method this year with my summer breeding program, I'm already too late. Remember all those numbers I threw at you at the beginning of this podcast? I want to be done lambing by December 20th. Rams need to be out by July 28th. I don't know for a fact, but I'm guessing the rams would stay in for 2 full cycles as if it were a normal heat cycle for a ewe. I have found nothing that tells me different. So if anyone has tried this method, let me know if I'm wrong. So rams would need to be in by June 25th. So to keep it simple, we'll round things off a little. This would mean I would need to start my long days of 12 weeks starting January 25th. Then my short days, which would have been an 8-week period, would have started April 25th, which would get my rams in June 25th and out July 28th, and I'm way past my deadline for any of that. One final warning with this lighting method, it is important to do everything possible to ensure success, because any ewes that don't breed out of season with this method will come in the following fall 8 to 12 weeks later than usual, which is really going to throw off your breeding schedule. Okay, last method, and my preferred method, seeders. So a seeder is a natural progesterone that stops your ewe's cycle, even in the middle of summer when she doesn't seem to be having one. You insert the seeder into your ewe's lady parts with a bit of lube and leave it in for 12 to 14 days. Once you remove the seeder, you give the ewe a shot of PMSG, which is pregnant mare serum. I am going to mess this one up. Gonadotrophin. Not going to try that one again. Okay. And again, full disclosure, unless something has changed that I don't know about here in the US, we can't get PMSG without a veterinarian's approval. And last time I checked in my area anyway, no one was giving that approval. I have only been able to get it one time, and that was when we were doing AI on our ewes, and the vet that was doing the AI came up from Utah? Nevada. One of the two. And he brought it with him because he was a licensed vet able to get it, and we couldn't get it here. So he brought it with him and was able to administer it, or give us the prescription to administer it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So the seeders start and stop estrus in the ewe. The PMSG is the hormone that basically promotes the eggs to drop. It helps the ewe produce multiples. And I've heard conflicting stories on this. Some people find that they get more multiples with out of season breeding and with the help of seeders and hormones, and people find that they get more during the natural breeding year. I guess it's all just in a matter of how you regulate things, how you feed things. We've always had really good luck with seeders. So, okay, you've pulled your seeder, you've given the shot, now what? Now we put the rams in. Nope. I mean, yes, but hold on. We got to head back to those dates at the beginning. So our ending lambing date was December 20th. Rams out July 28th. Now we need to do a little more math. Your CEDARs are only in for 12 to 14 days. They sink the ewes, which means the rams only need to be in for half the time they normally would be in. I keep my rams in for 17 days. I know some people who keep them in for 21. It's a personal preference. So I need to count back 17 days from July 28th, which would be July 11th. That's the day the CEDARs come out and the rams go in. So when do the CEDARs go in? Count back again, 12 to 14 days. I do 13 days, right smack in the middle, June 26th. CEDARs in on June 26th, out July 11th with a shot of hormones. Rams in, rams out on July 28th. Babies should start anytime around December 3rd and should finish around December 20th. Give or take 3 days, either way. So, what are your percentages? Because I know there's always that what if. What if you spend all this time, all this money, because it's not cheap. If you are doing everything right, normally get about an 80% coverage with CEDARs. With the light method, they say it's about a 70% coverage. The last several years that we have done CEDARs, we get between about probably an 80 and a 95% coverage on our ewes, which I think is pretty good, especially for out of season breeding. And we do get quite a few triplets and a lot of twins, which is always good. I want to take a real quick minute and talk about ram power, because it doesn't matter if you do everything right. You put lights on your rams, you put lights on your ewes, you do all the CEDARing, the counting, the hormones, the everything on your ewes, and you try to breed like you would in your normal breeding season, and you throw one ram in with 40, 60, 80, whatever number you normally throw a ram in with your ewes. You will not get the results you are wanting. When you are out of season breeding, the standard is one ram per no more than 5 ewes. They recommend 4 to 5 ewes per one ram. I will sometimes stretch that to 8 ewes per ram, but I try to stay between 5 and 6 ewes per ram. And where I have 20 rams, this is why I have 20 rams, so that I have plenty to go around. But yeah, ram power is definitely needed when it comes to out of season breeding. So you're probably asking yourself, why? Why would anyone in their right mind want to lamb out 2, 3, or even 4 times a year? Well, if you're a meat breeder, to sell lambs for the meat market all year round. But for those of us in the milk end of the world, it's all about the milk. Milking in the off season to make hard cheeses to have ready for the spring and summer months. Those cheeses take time to age. Milking to keep our families in milk for the winter months. Milking because sheep milk is hard enough to find during the regular season, and if we all stop during the out of season, no one will have fresh sheep milk. Alright guys, I'm going to just leave it there. As always, I appreciate all of you being here and thank you for your support. I would be ever so grateful if you would leave a review or share this podcast with your dairy sheep loving friends, anything to get the word out. If you want to follow the chaos around the farm, you can find me on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at Hidden Hollow Sheep Dairy. If there are any topics you are interested in, or if you are interested in being a guest on the podcast, please let me know. Thanks for being here, guys, and we'll talk to you again next week.